Ever feel like you're being pulled in two directions at once as a father? You've got the pressure to be this all-star at work, right? But then there's this huge pull to be a really present, involved parent. Well, today we're going to dig into the research that actually explains why that tension is so incredibly common. And yeah, this question, it really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? For so many guys today, it feels like you're being asked to make this impossible choice. Are you going to be the perfect employee who's always on, always available? Or are you the perfect parent who's there for every little thing? It's exhausting. And a lot of the time, it can feel like you're not quite succeeding at either one. So here it is, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got the ideal worker. You know the drill. Total commitment, crazy long hours, you're always reachable. But then on the other side, you've got the new man. This is the guy who's right there in the trenches, spending quality time with the kids, sharing all the household stuff, and making sure his partner's career can thrive too. And let's be honest, these two ideals are basically at war with each other.
Okay, so if this whole thing feels familiar, the most important thing to hear right now is this. It is not your fault. This isn't some personal failure on your part. What the research tells us is that you're actually caught in a clash between two powerful, expert-driven playbooks. Think of them like these invisible rule books that tell society how a father is supposed to behave. So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at exactly what these playbooks say.
All right, first up, we've got what the researchers call the manly father playbook. This is the old school script, the traditional model, and even if it feels a bit dated, you can definitely still see its influence all over the place. And whoa, this quote, it really gets right to the heart of this mindset, doesn't it? It basically frames traditional fatherhood as this bedrock of social order. From this point of view, the father's role is this fixed, conservative force that's absolutely essential for holding the family and really all of society together. So what are the actual rules here? Well, the core belief is pretty simple. Gender roles are natural. They're based in biology. Men and women are just wired differently when it comes to parenting. The father's job? He's the symbolic head of the house, the breadwinner, the one who lays down the law. His number one goal is to provide financial security. And this next part is really key. The parenting style is all about caring about the child, making sure they're provided for. It's not about the day-to-day hands-on caring for them. So this playbook runs on a few core truths. First, moms are the natural caregivers, period. Second, dads have their own separate gender-specific jobs. Think roughhousing, protection. Third, a father's masculinity is this core, unchangeable thing. His main purpose isn't to be a nurturer, but to help the kid break away and become independent from the mother. So in this world, being a dad is about being a fixed role model, not about growing or changing yourself.
Okay, now let's flip the script completely and look at the second playbook. This one is called the involved father. And yeah, this is the much more modern version that's become a big deal over the last few decades.
And listen to this quote, because it's a total game changer. It completely reframes what parenting even is. It says, you know what? Childcare isn't some magical biological instinct that only women have. Nope. It's care work. It's a set of skills that anyone can learn through experience. And that one little shift in thinking, it blows the door wide open for a whole new way of being a father. The rules for this playbook, they're basically a mirror image of the first one. The core belief is that parenting is a skill you learn, not something you're born with. The father's role is to be a totally hands-on, equal partner. And the goal? It's not just about money anymore. It's about finding real work-life balance and building a super close emotional bond with your kids. And the parenting style? It's all about that caring for. The daily, tangible stuff, the feeding, the dressing, the juggling schedules, all of it. And here's a huge difference. This model isn't something you just are. It's something you do. It's an active project. You have to consciously push back against those old ideas. You have to actually learn the skills. You have to put in the work to build that bond. And you have to see fatherhood as this big journey of personal growth. It's really a process of becoming a father, not just being one. Okay, so we've got these two powerful, totally different scripts for how to be a dad. But, and this is the big but that gets us right back to where we started, in the real world, neither one of these playbooks is a perfect fit. They don't just clash with each other, they clash with reality. Let's talk about the manly father script first. I mean, sure, it gives you a clear traditional role, but in today's world, it comes with some pretty big problems. The biggest issue? It basically bakes inequality right into the system. It shoves men and women into these super rigid, outdated boxes. And by saying these divisions are just natural and absolute, it puts up huge walls for women at work.
It sends the message that female colleagues are moms first and professionals second. And that kind of thinking, well, it really holds everyone back.
All right, so the old school model is problematic. But what about the involved father? It sounds great, right? Super aspirational, totally fair. But it runs smack into a huge wall.
And that wall is our modern workplace culture. That ideal worker idea we started with, the one that demands you're always on, always available, it's still king. So what happens is a guy's identity as a new man at home is in a constant battle with his identity as a committed employee at the office. Unless you've got really supportive company policies and a genuine culture shift, trying to be an involved dad can feel like you're just constantly swimming upstream.
So, if both playbooks have major flaws, does that mean dads are just stuck? No way. Not at all. The real power, the way out of this mess, comes from realizing that these are just made-up rules, and that's where we can start to see a way through. Honestly, if you take away only one thing today, let it be this. These ideas about fatherhood, they are not facts. They're not ironclad laws of nature. They are just scripts. And you know what's so great about a script? You can change it. You can question it, you can challenge it, and you can absolutely rewrite it. There's a fancy academic term for this, regimes of truth. It sounds kind of intimidating, but the idea is actually super simple. It's just how ideas from experts, psychologists, sociologists, whoever, get repeated so often that they start to feel like the truth, like they're just normal. And those truths then go on to shape everything about how we see ourselves, as parents, as partners, as workers. And that's why this all matters so much, because the very first step to getting out of this trap is realizing you're in one. Once you can see these two playbooks, the manly father and the involved father, for what they are, you can start to see the strings being pulled. And suddenly, you have the power to question them. You can decide which parts to keep and which parts to throw out because they just don't work for you, your family, or the kind of world you want to live in.
And that leads us to the big question, really. If we don't have to be stuck between these two old scripts, then what's next? The real opportunity here is to write a new playbook, one that actually works, one that lets you be committed to your family and your work, with support from companies that see you as a whole person, not just an employee. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What does that next chapter for fatherhood really look like?